When we originally were looking at what makes teams really smart, we thought it would be the average IQ of the people on the team. It turns out the statistic is the number of women on the team. To understand why is because women tend to have higher levels of emotional intelligence. It's really hard to teach people emotional intelligence. But what we can do is have software say things like, oh, I'm not sure if you noticed, Toby is being really quiet.
That prompting, so you're actually mimicking EQ.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. Welcome to What's the Tea?
What a treat. Are you kidding?
It's a pleasure to have you here.
This is so fun. I never get, this is so beautifully laid out.
Oh,
I never get to do things like this.
I know, this is fun. As I was mentioning, I drink a lot of tea. So we thought it'd be fun to do a What's the Tea series. And it is such a pleasure to have you. And thank you for taking the time.
Oh, this is a blast.
So we have had a bunch of different leaders come in and talk about what's happening with AI and how it's transforming work. And you have such a unique perspective around team dynamics and team intelligence that I thought, what a great compliment to what we've talked around different marketing and line of business. But I'd love to just dive into what are you seeing? What's the latest in team dynamics right now?
So first of all, I'm super excited where things are going, right? Let's call it the early stages of AI integration. Companies have mostly tried to focus on like cost savings and reductions and efficiencies.
Yeah, a lot of productivity.
And that happens whenever there's a new technological revolution. Everybody's looking for savings so they can apply that money to something else. Yeah. But the real opportunity, and what I'm very excited about, is that the ultimate goal of any organization is to be as smart as possible, meaning how quickly can you and your team solve a problem?
Yes. It's that team dynamic, the function of the team.
Absolutely. Now, traditionally, we used to think about it as like, let's get the smartest people in the room. But what all the research is showing is it's actually about the interactions between the people on your team.
Ah, okay.
And so what I'm starting to see is technologies that integrate into our, let's say, video chat platforms like Teams can now begin to actually help teams make better decisions and solve problems faster. So I can give you a few examples.
Yes, please.
Right. So when we originally were looking at what makes teams really smart, we thought it would be the average IQ of the people on the team. It turns out the statistic is the number of women on the team.
Oh, I love that.
Now, to understand why is because women tend to have higher levels of emotional intelligence.
Okay.
So emotional intelligence, especially when you go from like a single person activity, let's say you're playing tennis or golf, it's just pure talent. But when you go to a team activity, then it's about the ability to interact, right? It's knowing when to push on a topic, when to stay quiet, when to call on the person who's being too quiet. Now, it's really hard to teach people emotional intelligence, right? But what we can do is have teams actively working together and then having software say things like, oh, I'm not sure if you noticed, but Toby is being really quiet.
Oh, that prompting. So you're actually mimicking EQ.
Yes, precisely.
Fascinating.
And so in the early stages of the AI software, what we're seeing is it's revealing the habits that people don't even realize that they have. So I'll give you a kind of wild one. Eastern Europeans tend to emote less when they're on calls or when they're interacting. So if you have a team member that might be Eastern European, you might think, oh, that person doesn't like me.
They're disengaged, they're not that invested.
So now we can cue that person and say, hey, you might want to tell everybody on the call, this is what you look like when you're happy.
But and then even more so, I think the technology where it's going today, it might actually even know sort of the expertise of the individual. So it could even prompt to say, you might look unhappy, but I wonder if it also can bridge into, hey, you have expertise in this area, and prompt
100%.
them to speak up.
So I think the opportunity first is, let's say, you as the manager, not feeling like you're missing something.
Okay.
Right? So you get cued a lot being like, oh, it seems that this person might be having a tough day, you might want to talk to them after.
Okay.
They're being abnormally quiet. Or, oh, it seems that Susie has something to share and is really excited, but isn't being called on. Right?
So it's the insights into the dynamics of the
Absolutely.
team. Okay.
So that's stage one.
Okay.
Now, the next thing is, assuming that you've had all these calls and a history of data, you have people's resumes, their LinkedIn information, all of this background knowledge, then it turns out that the teams that perform the best are the ones that have the greatest amount of resources, mental models, skills, contacts, all of these things.
Okay.
What AI models are great at is surfacing resources, is saying, hey, based on all of our conversations, who on the team would be best to solve this or might have a contact at that company and so on. And so that way, when you're in a call and say, oh, I want to pitch company A, you should be getting a prompt saying, hey, these 3 people on your team have contacts there.
That is really fascinating. I've never thought about it from the, how do you do resource and resource prompting using AI?
And because it has potentially recordings of every call you've ever had as a
right,
team.
It has all the interactions, it has all of the context of us as individuals, the expertise that we bring, and to your point, the external data of where we have previous history, our resume, our CVs. Fascinating.
So that's from the resource perspective. So imagine now we can potentially reduce sales cycles or even solve problems faster because they can say, hey, maybe not in your group or your division, but across the thousands of employees at our organization, these 30 actually have the knowledge that you need to solve this problem. You should reach out to them, ask their manager if you could have a conversation.
Oh,
and
interesting.
suddenly, rather than having to outsource to a firm, you're just
the resource, the extended resource pool.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've noticed in the industry is this notion of blurred reporting lines, right? It used to be very hierarchical. You have the sales division, you have the engineering division. Even within my team, the gentleman that is our chief marketing officer of our developer division, he dual reports to me and to the engineering lead.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is giving him this perspective of all of the different knowledge that he has from a developer engagement standpoint. He's directly feeding that back in to the engineers that are building the product, while still in the marketing division doing your traditional marketing, value prop, go to market.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing that kind of happen in ways that I don't think that's new in the industry. And I see it at Microsoft, I see it outside of Microsoft.
So I think what we're beginning to point to is 2 kind of critical factors. The first is that there's a difference between being a leader in something and being accountable for it. And if you have a system in place to make sure that people are actually getting the things that need to happen done, then you could have more of a distribution of how we're using people as resources.
Yes.
Right? So now if you have some kind of support structure like an AI model or an agent that can track what people are working on, then you don't have to use your headspace to make sure those things are happening.
Yes.
And they can then bring knowledge from multiple groups together so that there's awareness. Right?
Yeah, and I love too what you're talking about is this notion of facilitating across teams, because most of what we do, whether you're a startup or you're a large enterprise, right, you're tracking your resources. You've given them a task. Are they getting that are they collectively getting that task done? And you can actually use an agentic workforce to augment that, to make sure that the progress is happening, to your point, without using headspace time to do that.
So here's what I'm really hoping will happen is that there are all these slightly amusing kind of nightmarish situations that have occurred in very large companies where a tech company might find out that they've been working on 5 different video chat programs simultaneously and they were unaware of each other, right? That happened to a company I consulted on years ago. If you have an agent whose only task is to ensure that there's no duplication and full alignment, then it will prevent situations from erupting before they occur. And here's what I mean by it. One of the fastest ways to make a team less intelligent is to have them go in multiple directions simultaneously.
Right.
It splits their attention, they can't get anything done. So if while we're having a conversation, you say, oh, John, what we should do is use this marketing strategy. And I go, oh, great, should we also do A, B, and C? An agent should pop up and say, hey, just so you're aware, there's 3 other groups in the company that are already working on those strategies in tandem. Rather than duplicating efforts, maybe check in with them and see if that works.
How you bring them together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it ends up causing a reduction of waste and allows us to actually focus on things that are meaningful.
Because too often we catch it at the tail end,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's way too far. And then in worst case, they brought them to market, and then you have duplicative
Yes.
offerings in the market.
And it's been just such a waste of resources. And not only that, the disappointment for the teams that launch them of finding out that one of them is
Somebody else has been doing that
Yeah.
unintentionally. So the last question I have for you is, what's the T? What's something that's happening in the industry, in the research that you've been doing, that people might not be aware of?
Oh, that's a great question. If I was going to warn people of kind of anything, it's that as we implement technology to solve all these problems, it's often really easy to lose sight of the human aspect of stuff.
Yes.
Ultimately, any challenge that we face as an organization, it seems to be the ability to have people do something and integrate it with the resources we have in the technology. And as we are implementing all this stuff, it seems that people aren't taking into account the emotional impact that it has on the teams. So often, if let's use AI as an example, people might be concerned that they're going to be implementing something that then replaces them.
Yes.
And so for human beings, our experience of the present is really based on a very strange quirk. And it works like this. Do you remember when you were in high school on Sundays at 6 p.m., how you would feel?
Yeah.
You'd feel really anxious, the Sunday scaries.
The Sunday scares.
And on Friday at 1 p.m., you'd be in class, but how would you feel?
I couldn't wait.
Yeah, super
yes,
excited, right? Because human beings don't relate to the present. They relate to the future that they feel that they have emotionally. And so if we want to have people come along on this journey of new technology, new ideas, what they need to feel is that the future will be new and better for them. And so whatever journey an organization goes on, it is the responsibility of the leadership to make sure that their people feel that the future will be brighter for them.
Yes, I agree with that. I had that with my own team. We showcased an AI native company that was building a marketing platform, and I brought it into my team and unveiled it. And you know when you can just feel the energy drop in a room. And I thought, what did I do? But I hadn't painted the picture. So all they saw was a platform that might replace what they do every single day.
Yeah.
And so that ability to paint the future and to paint excitement. And I also think, like, I worry about, do people get lazy? Right? When an agent can, just in my discipline, generate a launch document or a marketing positioning document, they could just hit accept, right? You have to QA it. And so how do we ensure that people are engaged? It's not laziness per se as a human, but it's laziness of the process, that you have to really truly be invested as
you have
a
to
co-pilot.
put rigor into it.
Yes.
And make sure that you're pressure testing the ideas.
Yeah. Versus just hitting accept, moving on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that I know I think about as a leader, and as my team is starting more and more to have this agentic workforce surrounding them, I need to make sure, to your point, they're bought into the future, and two, they are an equal partner to their agent or the agents that they're using, and not just sort of hands
Sitting
off.
back. Yeah. Fantastic.
Excellent. Jon, thank you so much for being here. It's wonderful to be in New York. So happy to be here. This is my favorite city. It's absolutely extraordinary. The energy is great, and it's a beautiful day for us, and I'm so glad you could join us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.